Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
For this is what the Sovereign Lord says.
Why do you need prophets to tell people who you are and what you want?
If you can justify everything that the God of the Bible has done, then you can justify any of your behavior.
A lot of this mentality is trickling into what is now mainstream right-wing Christianity.
I am capable of empathy greater than this God of the Bible.
This is a Bible that they tell kids. This is the good Lord. This is the good book. He is fantasizing about murder, mass murder.
Head over to sacrilegiousdiscourse.com right now to find out how to leave us a review or support us on Patreon.
Husband!
Wife!
Are you ready for what we're doing today?
Cults, right?
Cults, baby, cults!
Yeah.
It's a motherfucking cult up in here.
Yeah, part two.
Part two. Or do.
Yeah. Yeah, so we started this a couple weeks ago, I believe, and we ran a little long. So
we ran so long.
We're like, we got to cut this into two.
Maybe
at
three.
least.
At least two, maybe three. Who knows?
Maybe three. We'll see how this goes.
Yep.
So we got some more good info about, where did we leave off last time? What did we talk about last?
I was going to summarize it in the meet.
All right. Yeah, well, let's do that. So
okay.
You ready to get into this then?
Sure as fuck am.
All right, let's do it.
Okie dokie.
All right, before we hop into this, I forgot to mention in the intro that this is a Patreon-only episode.
It sure as fuck is.
Which means that if you're not joining us here live on Discord tonight, which is the best way to do this, and links are always in the show notes. Even on this one, if you are not a patron, there's links in the show notes for the Discord. So check that out. Join us on Discord, and you can be there next time we do a free, a Patreon episode, and you don't even have to pay for it. But
exactly.
If you can't be here for our lives, which are 10 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday, you can always catch these episodes on Patreon, and you can get them for as low as $2 a month. Just head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse.
Yes.
That being said, you ready to get into this episode here?
Indeed, I am.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So last time we did this, we talked about cults versus religions.
We did.
And we started with charisma and authority and living prophets versus historical figures. Do you remember that? That was like people here on earth versus like Jesus or Muhammad or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? And then isolation and control.
Right.
And apocalyptic and fear-based messaging. And that was all under defining cults versus religion. And we will be covering more of that because we aren't done with that.
Got it. Okay.
We also covered a report that sustained fear-based messaging can erode mental capacities and make individuals more susceptible to manipulation, aka brainwashing.
Right.
And that's kind of a thing that's been happening.
Yeah.
To the Republicans.
In our media landscape, just in general, I would say that media understands the idea that if you promote fear, that you have a more willing listenership to buy into other things if you can catch them on that. So.
Yeah, and the more that they continue being afraid, the more that you can like pass by these other ideas to them and they'll buy it because they're in a position mentally to do so.
Right. Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Isn't it, though?
Right? Okay, so moving on, we're still defining cults versus religion. Okay. And the next thing would be sacrifice and control over personal lives. So cult leaders tend to demand extraordinary levels of personal sacrifice and control, often dictating followers' relationships, sexual behavior, finances, and even diet.
Wow.
Jones famously required his followers to give up their possessions and live communally.
This is Jim Jones.
Jones.
Heaven's Gate?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Koresh, David Koresh of the Davidian dude.
Branch Davidian.
Yeah, them guys. Took it further by claiming the right to have intimate relationships with his followers, including young girls, under the guise of, quote, spiritual duty.
Oh, wow.
He grody.
Yeah.
While the leaders of certain religious groups also have specific moral expectations, these demands are usually less extreme and can be interpreted through broader frameworks like priests or pastors who interpret scripture rather than inventing quote unquote new commands for their followers. Having said that, I do not want to overlook the fact that religious leaders are also pretty fucking grody and do their own form of covering up for each other and hiding the nastiness that they do.
And using the power that they do have to
abusing their power
over people.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Totally. Yeah. That wasn't listed here in what I was reading, and I just felt like it was important to add that because let us not overlook that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, let's just not, let's not beat around the bush. There is some aspect of cultishness in. Psst, want to hear something you won't hear anywhere else? We're unlocking a secret world over here on our Patreon, where the stories get juicier and the laughs get louder. But this door is only for those with a key. The key to our Patreon. Head to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse to unlock bonus episodes, behind-the-scene goodies, and a whole lot more. Yay! For just $2 a month, you can support the show you love and get a VIP pass to our inner circle. What are you waiting for? The party's just getting started over on Patreon.